I guess everyone's in school. All right, we're going to start off tonight at the Cameron Church at the Kawartha Freedom Group here. All right. First we'll do is we'll open up in prayer. All right. Dear Father, we praise your holy name, the name of Yeshua HaMashiach Jesus Christ. Father, bring your spirit of truth and understanding in this room right now, and get rid of any unclean spirits may be around us, and bring your holy angels and protect us, Father, in these times. We give you all glory. Amen. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna be opening up with the shofar, and I'm gonna have a little bit of a story on that. Have you ever thought about the real true meaning and pay attention to the story of Jericho? Have y'all really thought about the reality of it? Don't you think that was kind of insane or kind of just crazy, like maniacs? Like what they did is they went around the city 7 times blowing the shofar. Now they did that for 7 days straight. Now, what does the shofar signify? The kingdom entrance. Okay. So when the king, what did they hear at Mount Sinai? Okay, they said, you heard, the shofar waxed louder and louder and louder. So, and then the king came. So it was showing that the king is coming, the kingdom is coming. So that's what signifies there. So, okay, so they marched around Jericho and they blew the shofar. All right, then on the 7th day, what happened? They shouted. So, and then Jericho's wall, remember, think about this. Jericho's was a walled city, completely walled up. And you couldn't bring it down with tanks and bows and arrows or hammers or camels or elephants. You couldn't bring this down. You had to bring it down by doing what God told us what to do. Now, then God also tells us that, about there's a mountain right there. He said, speak to the mountain. Now, don't you think that's kind of like just like a maniac way? Like you think about it, it's just like, it's so surreal. He says, speak to the mountain. So he's going to test us for obedience. Well, let me see. You want to walk around the city. So they're walking around the city, blowing the shofar, and then then he wants us to shout. Okay. So remember, I've been sharing about tearing down these walls by shouting. They're shouting freedom all this time, right? Well, you can break so many strongholds by shouting. And what does a sound signify? Freedom, victory. It's victory. It's completely victory. You got to remember, there's got to be a shout of joy. You got to have a spirit behind it. Okay. And what's wrong with walking around experiencing 7 times blowing the trumpets and shout on the 7th day? Well, am I just crazy? Like, ain't no more stupid than saying about being depressed. How about being stupid and topped off with anxiety? Yeah, people have anxieties, then they show it, right? Ain't no more stupid than sitting there being bound. So that's the thing, you got to do this with a spirit. And, like a child will turn around, you see them, they have a fun time and you hear the glee, you're out there, they're shouting like, this is great. They're how about a football game? People are shouting for that. We'll shout for victory, what we're doing right now. What we need to do is break down those walls. So, and the trumpet is also sound for an alarm, letting know there's something wrong. And as if you look outside and see what's going on, it's definitely worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. I remember Sodom and Gomorrah was just a city. This is the whole world. The whole world's jacked up. And we know the king is coming. Everything's done on his watch. He knows the beginning, middle, and end of everything. So the shouting is a spirit. We need to get the spirit. How are we supposed to follow him? The spirit with truth and the spirit of truth and love. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be following him in truth and in spirit. So we're going to blow that shofar. It doesn't matter who's here, who's there. Everyone's going to hear it. But what signifies the most is that he hears us. Remember when Noah was on the ark and he was tossed back and forth, he shouted to the Most High, and then the water retracted. Something to keep thinking about. So don't be silent. Shout out, whatever it is. Shouting could be like even on Messenger, whatever it is, on YouTube, on Facebook. Just get it out there. And we need to have people here because you shall know them by their fruit, and we shall know them. The thing is that we need to be around the people. We need to be around so we know your fruit, because the infiltrator will come in every aspect, in every which way. The closer you get to the truth, and he's coming soon, we best be gathering. It says, do not forsake the assembly when times are near. I'd say it's pretty near. When you say? All right. So we're going to blow the shofar, and we're going to shout. We're going to shout the victory, okay? This is what we're going for. And his will be done. So we got to follow his will. And it's all about truth and love, right? All right. My brother Michael and my brother Steve. Victory! All right. Glory to King. Thanks, brother Michael. All right. So we do have a couple of speakers. We have Singh coming up. He wants to share how he's being received, get himself out there, and that's what we need to do. We need to put ourselves on that sword, and it's not always comfortable. It's not comfortable standing up and sharing and being on the spotlight here, but you know what? You just gotta get after it, and who else you gotta do? We're watchmen. And if we don't say anything, the blood is on our hands. At that point, it's up to you, whoever's hearing it, to hearken on it, to hearken on the truth, and to study. Study the word, study what's going on out there. See what your councils are doing. See what your neighbor is doing. And actually, I'll say neighbor. I was actually more loosely, but we know that there's the words of legalese, and I'm sure I know some in the audience here can understand what legalese is. It's words that sounds familiar, but they have a different meaning, and you end up following up by contracting by it. There's offers and acceptance. But the thing is, all these are not bound without full disclosure. But you know what? We got to study. We got to study what's going on, physically, spiritually. It's quite a world out there. That's quite a world. We have another guest speaker, Shelagh. She understands exactly what I was just mentioning, and it's definitely needed. We definitely need to be educated by all this, because who is the greatest deceiver? Yeah, the devil, right? So he comes in different formats. He doesn't come in with red horns or something like that. He comes in like a Bill Gates, or or the one in Canada. I don't even want to say his name, but anyways, we all know who these different individuals are. And our only freedom we're going to have is with our King. And it's funny how, well, it's not funny, but it's the way it is. Some people hear it, the truth, the book, and I don't have to talk chapter and verse. You talk about how your footsteps are. You show that. Blessed are not the sayers, but the doers of the word. So we got to be doers, the peacekeepers, the ones that are be gathering the lost sheep of his people right now. And that's what's going on right here. We're gathering, we're showing our fruit, and he will add to it. It's we're just the willing vessels to, put this out on YouTube or Rumble or Facebook. They're just it's our voice. But you know what? His people will hear his voice through you. So we got to constantly speaking truth, because that's in our spirit. And when you turn on the light, it exposes darkness, it exposes the lies. And that's what these people don't want to hear. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. They don't want to be exposed. We've had some really quite of experiences on that point, talking, sharing information. Like they'll hoodwink you. They'll say, oh yeah, I can come onto your property, or I can do this, or I can do that. And then you automatically, they speak like with authority. Well, this is what we got to do. They look at you as just ignorant, and you don't know what they're talking about. But once you do, that's power on you. That information, like finding out about the bylaws or acts and statutes and everything like that, and they tell you, this is, well, geez, once you find out, it's like, wow, they've had it right in front of you all this time. They've had this information, like take a look at any document, any kind of bylaws or acts, whatever you want to call them. They'll tell you what the definitions are, but then for some reason you're blinded by it. You don't see what's there. See, that's what happens when you walk in truth. That's why, I want to make sure that I'm walking in his will, because he will, that's the spirit in you, the spirit of truth. People just talk about being religious and all that. It's not, the book is not a religious book. It's a book of rules. It's an understanding of his word. And the ones that seek will find, ones will knock, will answer to that. So we got to keep doing that. And if you're not with Christ, you're anti. Like I'm just gonna be just frank, and I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to find his people. I want to find people of truth, and those are gonna be my true brothers and sisters. And I, for one, was never one to come up and speak. And I've always been sitting in the pew, being in the back and taking it all in. The thing is, I've always participated. I always wanted to be the camera guy, or I always want to run around with Mike. I always want to be able to help and support and be a blessing to those who actually want to do and get the word out there. Finding out, like, because there's all great people here. Here or the other church we're at, it doesn't matter. It's just it's a gathering of people that want the truth and have not just want the truth, but have the love of the truth. You're gonna see it. You meet some people and you just know it, right? You feel it out. You're friendly. They're humble, and that's who I want to be with, and I see that in times coming. Or just let's take a look at history, like in the 30s. In the 30s, what happened there is everyone ended up being community oriented. They didn't really care or liked each other, but it was survival. Well, here we have a chance. We're seeing it. We're seeing what's coming down. The word is getting spread out there. And why wouldn't you not be with a bunch of other individuals that are wanting the truth or want to help each other? Not that they have an agenda of their own, but it's a group agenda. The agenda that want to get together and help each other. Be it a community in one farm, or be in community in a little town. There's different levels of community. So it's something that we need to be helping each other out. See, I looked at this as a mutual assistance program. So, when things are coming to really bad, this is going to get from bad to worse. If you think it's over, no, we've already been tested. They already tested how many people can actually roll over and be sheep, turn around and throw a mask on. Like it's just nuts. Anyways, it's they turn around and vaccinate their children. It's just, that's actually very biblical too. They turn around and sacrificing your child to Moloch. It's just crazy. So I just wanted to just say thanks for coming out, and just other things I want to share too. We have let's updated the local freedom business directory that we had before. I've updated it, so I'm gonna make sure and that it's distributed or actually put in front here. And also we were talking about a common unity family project, and something that we definitely be needing, because a lot of times, people leave here and say, well, okay, so what happens if they stop the trucks? Who do I talk to? I don't know their phone number. The guy that I was sitting beside in the pew, I don't know him. Why not? So we got to start doing that. We got to start gathering, start to share information. Um, Spirit will lead you. Okay, it's truth, right? And love. So, all right. So I do have a template put together, and I really want to make this so we can get participation. So anything else that we need to do, it's a template set up. Picking your family contacts. This is like a family. That's what it is. And it's all about truth and getting to the end, getting to the kingdom, and learning more truth. I only know so much. Like at my home, how am I going to protect us if anything goes crazy? I can only stay up for so long. So, so it's nice to be with others that we can communicate in forms of communication. So, all right. So I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for our guest speaker that came all the way from the other side of Toronto. It took him a couple hours to come out. So really respect that, he's going to share some information and how he's been dwelling in his community and sharing that. So at least he's being, the watchman, right? So we're charged to be watchmen. So share this with your, who you think that would want to hear the truth. So we're gonna have Sunny come up here, and let's put our hands together for Sunny. Thank you so much, Sunny, for coming out.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the universe, God, Supreme, for bringing me here, the members here, and whoever's in charge over here to bring me. This is my second time over here. Sunny Singh from India. Went to school in India, went to school in Malaysia, went to school in England, went to school a little bit in Canada. So I've done schooling in several countries. I've been a freedom fighter. I was involved in the world's biggest protest, if you guys remember, in 2019-20. The No Farmers, No Food. It was 250 million people. It was in India. We did a protest in England. We did a protest in Toronto, and it was around the world. It was actually in Europe and many countries. Around the world it was, but mainly India was 250 million people protesting. So I was involved in that. At the same time, I was involved in the Norwich, Ontario, which is towards London, Ontario. I joined the Dutch farmers. They were protesting. So that was the Canada's longest convoy, and you can Google this. It's 38 kilometers long. I was part of that too. And funny thing is, there was only two Indian fellows, and everybody was Dutch. So they were kind of looking at us and saying, "What's all this green flag? What's going on?" So we said, "We've got problems in India." And they said, "Oh, wow, we heard about it. And yeah, welcome." So we had a very great time in Norwich, Ontario. That was amazing. But at the same time, I asked them what the problem was. I knew I just want to get their feedback. And they said that it's hard to become a farmer. We're done. We can't get help. Trudeau has turned his back onto the farmers. So what happened was, at the same time, Trump in the US, when he was in power, he released $20 billion to his farmers. And exact words that Trump said, "You farmers, you guys are my backbone of my country." So $20 billion he gave. So after that, we went back to our regular protests, and we did rallies and protests and convoys for a year and a half. Finally, the Indian Prime Minister Modi, I think I missed something out here. He brought in laws to wipe out the farmers. That's what caused this world's biggest protest. He brought about 6 laws, 6 major ones and a few minor ones. What were the laws? The laws were basically, I'm not going to get into each one, but one of them was Walmart is in India. And if Walmart says to you, "Okay, give me all your tomatoes and I'm only going to pay you 10 cents, you've got to say, "Yes, okay." So it was better off in India that you grow, and we had people grow their cabbage and just throw it on the road and said, "I'm better off this way." I make more money this way rather than giving it at 10 cents. So people protested. So that was one of the laws out of the 6 laws. So what happened was this went on for a year and a half, and then Modi one day he decided, okay, you know what? I will take back the laws. I'll repeal. But we had a heavy loss of rally protests. We had people died in New Delhi in their sleep, about 750. We had 17,000 tractors seized. We had journalists beaten, kidnapped. We had, lots of negative. And we're still, since then, are in the recovery. Anyway, so moving forward, we've been doing the Freedom Rally, the protests, Brampton, Mississauga, Shelburne. We've been doing it at Toronto. I've been going wherever I can, join the Niagara people. They're wonderful people there, St. Catharines, whatever, all over the place. Actually went to Ottawa about 5 times. So, it's become part of my life fighting injustice. And I'll just get to the part about last week. I always like to give bad news first, then I like to give good news. So all your viewers out there, all the people out there, this is the way I operate. So I will go on to Wednesday, which was 1 Million Man March. That was, my intention was to go to Durham region to help them, which is not too far from us, I believe. And my second choice was to go to Milton, join them, because they asked me for help. But then one person said to me, listen, we really need your help in Orangeville. So I went to Orangeville instead, got there early in the morning. And to make a long story short, we were about 450 people. And the opposition was about 80 people, 90 people. And they, you name it, swearing, cussing, throwing stuff at us, they had our timetable, so they were ahead of us. And it so happened that wherever we went to, all the council members and the MPs, they weren't there. So it's a Wednesday and you're not there. Something is going on. So none of them were there. So we ended up in the school, and obviously they had our time. They were there before us. And the police were there, and thank God nothing happened. And that was Wednesday. Then come Friday, we were standing up with Josh Alexander. I'm pretty sure the viewers and everybody know who Josh Alexander is. If you don't, he's the great teenager that was in Renfrew, who protested against guys going into women's washroom. There was a lot, and he protested. He got, what do you call it, a lot of trouble. He did a protest outside. He has been arrested. And, I met him in Cambridge one time. So Christine Anderson was there. I met her. And it was amazing. And all of a sudden, I see his event on Friday, which is just this Friday. And it was in Scarborough at Victoria Park Collegiate School. And I got there, and we were, maybe a couple of hundred. But our opposition, I don't know what their motto is. I just don't know why, because we're welcoming them. We're not against anybody. We're telling them to come and join us. They had their umbrellas, they had their covers, and they were throwing stuff, and they were poking people. They were doing everything in front of the police. And sadly, something happened. There was an incident there. I'm pretty sure some of you have seen it. If you didn't, please go and check the video. They started attacking Josh and his brother, and his brother was cut and bleeding, and the police didn't do much, nothing. And instead, they arrested the veteran. I forgot his name, and because he was protecting Josh and his brother Nick, and they arrested him and they arrested Nick. It turned out to be like, I'm like, you know what? We escape all this stuff from India only to come to Canada to face it. If we're going to do this, well, I might as well go back to India. Well, I think we have more common sense in India. You've got to see that the guy's bleeding, and you know what happened, and the police did nothing. But anyway, so that was a sad part, and I left. We were about, a few hundred, and the opposition over there, they were very strong. I gotta say that. They were chanting and yelling and swearing at us, and some of them even came to our side, and we never said nothing to them. Nothing, absolutely nothing. and they still taunt us and everything. And anyway, that was on Friday. Saturday, we had the worldwide freedom rally, and for some reason, it was put up there on the internet and it was taken down on the social media for some reason. So the turnout was not that great. So we continued anyways with a low number. And I think we walked on Young Street and walked all the way around. And we came back and it was, good speeches. It was pretty good. And that was Saturday. Now comes Sunday. Actually, on Saturday night, I got a call from one of the Indian TV media. And I'll just tell you their name. I don't want to say it the wrong way. It's called the Helka TV and Radio. And the person's name is Singh Sekon, and it's called Prime Punjab Media. And if you can see, I think I'll pull up the video there. You can see me there. He called me on Saturday. He goes, I need you to come down. That's him. He does a regular segment. Very good. And he called me down and he goes, listen, I need you to talk about one topic. And he was talking about indoctrination of children in schools. So I had to stay focused. So I got my notes on Saturday night, and Sunday morning I showed up. I thought I was going to get a briefing, but that's okay. I didn't get any briefing. I had to turn my phone off. I was in a studio, amazing. My first time I've been in such a studio like that. And he has a lot of advertisers, real estate, truck drivers. He was amazing guy. He's got a lot of, I was impressed. And he wanted to question me, and I was not prepared, but that's good. It's a big experience for me. And he put me on the live TV radio, which you can see behind me. And it was broadcast to all over Canada and the internet everywhere. And we talked about things that none of the Indian community don't know. They don't know this stuff. They don't know what's happening in the schools. But if some do, the ones that do are barely like 1% that know, okay, oh, yeah. They have books in certain books in school. I don't want to say it, we're in the church here, but they have certain books in the school. They had this, and the teachers, and that teacher in Oakville. I don't know if you guys know about that incident, the teacher in Oakville with the, whatever. I don't want to say that either. But the costume. So basically, we talked about that. We covered that. We got callers in, and it was very impressive. And it was about an hour or so. And as I was getting prepared to leave, the next gentleman, Shivinder Singh Pawar, he's also part of Telka TV and Radio, which is behind me. You can probably say, yeah, you can see the turban fellow. He called me. He saw me. He said, listen, I don't know what you guys talking about. I just overheard while I was being prepared. He says to me, please, I need this gentleman right now in my show, because he does a different show. Same studio, different show. So that's Shivinder Singh Pawar. First one was Singh Sekon, which I really want to thank. He's the one who called me. So this person here, the second one, I was with him and we talked about the same thing. And we got calls from India. We got calls from the US, New York. And you know what? We really talked, and it was very impressive. We had some people debate. And you know what? It was amazing. And when we were done, after about over an hour, and I was like, sitting there on the chair for over 2.5 hours, I believe. He says to me, oh, by the way, on his phone, he goes, oh, we got over 7,000 online, this is streaming online views. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah, over seven, I would say 7,500, just to be on the safe side. He said, that's how many views we have. And this doesn't include the TV, which is from here to Vancouver. So this is another gentleman that called me, and I talked about it, and we had a good discussion. Why I keep on bringing this up and why it's very crucial is because if you really look at it, the trucking industry out there, most of the trucks, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 are Indian people. where we've overtaken the trucking industry from here to Vancouver, even in the US, even in California. Real estate, development, or you name it, you know what? Very good at it. And the people that need to advertise, promote their restaurants, their pizza shops, their land for sale, acres of land for sale, the trucking, all these two gentlemen. So what they do is they throw the advertising in between, and they call me, and the show was amazing. And we had callers come in and said, listen, we never knew about this stuff. And that's where I referenced to them. I said, listen, you know what? It's not just me, it's you guys out there. If you guys, you yourself, whoever watching and the organizers here, if you was not doing this, I wouldn't be doing this and they wouldn't know this. So I'm grateful to you guys first, number one, for putting this. I've been watching this church for over a year. I've been watching Zoom. I've just been delayed coming in person. Finally, I'm here. This is my second time that I come here. And I want to thank Maggie, Angel, and a whole bunch of other people. But what I'm saying is we need to connect. We need to connect with the communities. From here, you need to know this media that is behind me. Very powerful media. They need to know this so we can grow together, we can be together, and we can work and tackle these issues, right? So you have to remember one thing. Indians look at things in a different way. They don't look at it the way you do. That's why when I talked to the great gentleman here, Steve, I said, Steve, you've got to give me some flyers and brochures. They're not going to go on the website. When you give me that kind of stuff, it triggers them to go on a website. It triggers them from elsewhere. They work in a different way. Why we need them is because, we need to unite together. I hope the next 1 million man march or whatever, 1 million march is not 1 million, it's 10 million. We need to grow this. The only way that we grow this, thank you. The only way we need to grow is with all your efforts coming in together. We got to stand up. We can't give up. We've got a long fight. As I told you, no farmers, no food, 250 million protests. We did it for a year and a half. We did it in the freezing cold. Sometimes there was thousands of us, and sometimes there was only a few of us because it was freezing cold. But we stood out there with our green flag and we walked up and down the road. We got people honk at us. People give us free tea and this and that. They gave us food. It kept us going until we won, right? So now we're still in the recovery mode. Give me my land back. Give me my tractor back. Give me my, whatever you've done. India was really, very strict. I mean, if you were in New Delhi, back to that protest, they got your VIN number of your tractor and they sent the police to your house to arrest your family. But let me tell you what our people did, and then I'm going to wrap it up. What the farmers did was they said, okay, like a mayor, a person in charge of the village, went into each house and says, okay, you got 3 boys here, 2 boys here. We're taking all of them and we're leaving 1. We're going to take this boy, we're going to take these, and we're going to put them in a trolley, and we're going to send them to New Delhi. We're going to feed them, we're going to clothe them, we're going to do whatever we have to do, and they're going to protest. So we had them go there, and they went for 2 weeks. Now, if there was a single mother in there that says, look, I've got nobody, we had somebody come in place and do your farming. We had it really well set up. You don't pay for gas, you don't pay for food, you get a bed, you get everything. You don't do nothing except take yourself. You get signs, boards, everything. You get heat, you get air conditioning, you name it, you get it. It was there in New Delhi. Go and protest. Now, here's a funny thing I'm just going to quickly tell you. Some of them snuck out from New Delhi and came back home and says, haha, I made it. I'm back at home. Well, we had some surprise for you. What was that surprise? That surprise was that I've got to just educate you a little bit. When there's a marriage in India, the girls wear the red bangles up to here. And they let the bangles break themselves. So you might have seen Indian girls wearing the red bangles up to here. That's to show, hey, I'm married. And just as a sign of gift of love to her husband, she lets the bangles break until they all break. She doesn't break them. So it could break in 1 month, it could break in 6 months. But that's the newlyweds. Now, hold that thought. The guys that came back to the villages and snuck and said, okay, good, I'm back. I'm not going to New Delhi. I don't want to protest. Well, guess what? We had the bangles ready for you to put them on and say, okay, buddy, stand out there on the road now. Go and put the bangles on. And he's like, what? I just came back. I can't take it up there. I know, well, okay, fine. Go and wear the bangles and go and walk around. We order you that. Oh, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm going back. These are the tactics that we used. And this is just one of the tactics. There's several. I'm gonna take too much time, but this is just one of the tactics that we used to get the people to go back. And in India, trust me, a guy does not want to wear bangles. You know what? I'd rather get run over by a car than wear bangles. Okay, just to let you know that. It's the biggest insult. It's an insult to your house, your family, your village, and everybody. And trust me, you won't even get married because they'll be like, haha, you're the guy that wore bangles. Okay, so that's how bad it is. It goes on for a long time. And but your own home don't want you in the house. So, yeah, wearing the bangles, stay outside. So that's just one of them. There's several others. I hope next time I can tell you. But these creative ideas, as Steve has mentioned, these are the ones that we came up with out of the blue to get these guys out there, to get to New Delhi, to say, okay, no, we need to protest. We need to get these laws repealed. So that's just going back there. Anyways, I'm just going to wrap it up. I've taken too much time. I'm just going to say that it was great going Sunday on the radio. It was terrible on Friday. Very sad to see, what I witnessed myself and other people. We were just overtaken back, I don't know what to say, what the words are. But it was great on Saturday. It was a little disappointing in downtown Toronto. We were expecting big numbers. And on Sunday, it was just great. Once again, I want to thank the people. You can see behind me. I was in the studio. I was by myself. Wish one of you was with me in the studio because it would have just taken a little bit stress off me. I don't look stressful, but I was very stressed there. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? That was my second hour in the studio. And you can't cough. You can't drink water because the mic picks up everything. It's a professional closed studio. So just want to say that. Anyway, other than that, I want to thank each one of you. Thank the universe out there. Thank God, the Supreme. I want to thank Putin, by the way, just to go off topic, for eliminating a few things I don't want to say here and putting things in order. And I want to really, last word is Trump. Trump said, when I come into power, the first thing I'm going to sign is banning all that, he, she, or she, he's, or whatever. That's the first thing I'm going to ban when I come in power. So I'm looking forward to that. So the rest, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate each one of you, and God bless all the viewers, all the people out there. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Singh. Sonny, that was really great for your stories. Actually, what you were saying about the Bengals idea, I thought that's excellent. It's called being tribal, and putting the tribe ahead of yourself for the goodness of the people. That's very right in the book. And the Bengals with a guy, it's like it's kind of saying like he's an effeminate, because actually the Bible speaks about effeminate in the Bible for men, and you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be men, and that's what we're lacking, is men being men, standing up, and that's what's happening right now. What I've been seeing here, when I first started coming to this group, I guess about 2.5 years now, I think it's been. Oh, geez, time flies, eh? It was more like 20% men, 80% women. I think that's kind of changed to 65-35 now. So we can see more men out. So that's good. We're supposed to be the spiritual leaders here because it is a spiritual warfare going on. You take a look what these powers that want to be, what are they doing? They're doing sacrifices. They're doing everything, and they're letting you know that they're saying, there's no God, there's nothing. Don't worry about it. The devil says that. Okay, so um, definitely, you can only serve one master. You can't serve two. So if you're not good for the good, you're for the opposite. So we got to stand up, men. I want to see more men here. That's the thing. You got to stand up for your family. Forget about the sports stuff. That's entertainment. That's going sideways. Um, you're being hoodwinked. You're just being, pulled aside and not knowing that, the trucks are not going to stop coming around, and we got to be dealing with this. And what's New Delhi or in India we're doing? Yeah, absolutely. If you don't stand up now, you're gonna fall for everything. Like that's what's going on. So this place is going to rats crap, whatever you want to call it. But we got to stand up for us, for the true family, for truth. So, all right. So thanks. Hey, so how many people you had up here, like they were watching? 7,500 on a live stream, and then forget about what's being watching live. So yeah, that's good. So Sonny, you're getting yourself out there. That's what it is. You got to put yourself on a sword and let the people know. And now look how many people that's going to multiply. They're going to tell their friends, their two friends. That's great. So we got to have more than that. We got to keep that going. That's good. So thanks for being, a good example for that. And you're welcome here every time. We want you to come out. Hey, we'll go out to your area. We're putting something together. That's great. So we got to do this. So, anyways, but let's keep this rolling. I know the summer has been, everyone's on, going to cottage and everything like that. But what's coming down? We need to be together even more so nowadays because that enemy is going to be at your front doorstep. We fend off at our place because we know the truth of what was happening with the bylaws and stuff like that. But you don't know until you test the grounds, and it's empowering. Truth empowers you. We got to stand. Okay, definitely got to stand. All right, so I want to let you know that Angel really wanted to be here, but she's out there with Maggie supporting her at the city council in Peterborough. That's happening maybe just getting over. So you may see her at the end of this evening, or she might actually come on Zoom live and speak about what's been going on over with Maggie, and she's supporting her there as Maggie's really doing a really nice job out there. So we got to give kudos where kudos are, and it really is needed. We all need the support, and as they, it comes around, right? So now, also we have another great speaker here that wants to speak about what what she's doing, how she's helping, and getting the word out there, get better understanding of these laws and bylaws or whatever kind of laws, unlawful laws. So she's spreading that truth, making sure that we get a good understanding of it. And also what, she's working with Maggie and Angel and everything else. So we really got a good team going. So put your hands together for Sheila.
You want to put the Kawartha Lakes thing on? Can you hear me? My name is Shelagh MacFarlane, and I've come here from Guelph to help out. How I got involved is, I guess it's almost been 2 months now that I first saw Maggie's deputation to the Peterborough City Council, I guess about 6 weeks ago, where She had copied and pasted stuff that I had posted when I ran for mayor, and kind of just about the agenda and about what's happening in city halls. And as a result of her delivering this, it went immediately viral. And people connected with the message at that time that there is something definitely going on in locally, and that we have lost control. So once I saw that presentation and I realized that she had the ability to get my message out, whereas I haven't been able to before because I'm not a front man at all. I have run for municipal council in 2014 in Kincardine, and I ran for mayor of Guelph last year. Municipal politics, local elections are very, very different from provincial and federal. You elect your local representatives to be your direct trustee, your direct public servant, and your direct public official. And it's a covenant that you make with your elected mayors and councillors. Unfortunately, as Steve mentioned, is that they've been asked to serve two masters. And they're actually in a very, frustrating position, both legally and lawfully, because their hands are tied. And two, they're in a very high personal liability situation because their signatures are doing a lot of damage.
Restructuring of Canadian mayors and
What? Sorry? Yes. So I'll fast forward. So anyway, the presentation that Maggie gave in Peterborough, since it went viral, I drove up to have a chat with her and to kind of fill her in on why it went viral and why these council presentations of calling out what's happening locally are very important. This one here is Joel Sussman. He did a presentation in Aurora, very similar, discussing the United Nations Agenda 21 and how it's infiltrated in our city halls. And we don't have any land controls, et cetera. We actually COVID proved we don't even have bodily autonomy anymore through these what ultimately are public-private partnerships. So when I got up here, Maggie went to Alberta to kind of work on the networking component of a bunch of groups to connect us provincially and federally. And I stuck around and worked with Angel to get the Kawartha Lakes presentation ready that we're delivering tomorrow. And I would really appreciate a lot of people coming out. A lot. Sorry, I believe it's 1 o'clock. If you go to the Kawartha Lakes site, there's the petition there that she is presenting that basically says there's been no public input in any of these zoning rural bylaws that are very dangerous, that shutting down all food processing possibilities. And when I basically came up and she downloaded the zoning bylaws, right? So and she said, can you help us? Like they're jamming these things through 3 readings in a day, and this will totally stop any ability to sever land that she could build a house for her sons or daughters. And so I said, yeah, sure. I'll look at it. I have a background in the 90s. I worked in Toronto for lawyers. I worked for them, not with them. They were plain language associates where they taught me how to translate legalese, which is what Steve was talking about, which are weasel words. And they're called weasel words because they have more than one meaning so that liars can weasel out of fraud, basically. So you can't hold them in a definition at all. And the one thing that's getting us really in a lot of trouble is the word municipality. Nobody knows what it means. That's what I am going to be helping you guys understand. All I needed to do with this 100 and I don't know, is none. I had to see, okay, who is this to? All right, this is a bylaw. BY law means half, part, partial. The color of law. It is not law. And it actually indicates corporate law, like McDonald's. I call these guys Muni World, okay? All these cities are municipalities, Muni World. So first I look, okay, who does this apply to? So you go immediately, you go to the definitions because you've got to see, okay, you know, don't be locking yourself into this shit. If it doesn't apply to you. So who does this apply to? Okay, well, it's a municipality bylaw. All right, what's a municipality? All right, if you've got, and I've had 30 years of experience and some awesome mentors. Ron Stevens in Kincardine taught me this. If you go to the Municipal Act, municipality is defined at least 5 different ways, but it boils down to 2 definitions. One, it can be the geographical area, and that's further qualified, but basically the geographical area. Or 2, it can be the municipal corporation. That's what a municipality is. They define municipality in this, buried in the definitions. All right. And I mean, this is, you just gotta know how to read these things. It's like playing Where's Waldo. As soon as you know where Waldo is, you can see him in every document. Oh, there's Waldo. So municipality means the corporation of the city of Kawartha Lakes. All of this applies to the corporation of the city of Kawartha Lakes. All right. So, okay, we got that back. This is a private corporate policy. Okay, I get that. How does this apply? How are they doing this? Which is why I ran for mayor, because I wanted to see firsthand how they were doing it. Does anybody understand what happened in COVID? Do you all realize that they were able to put needles in your arms using city bylaws, like parking tickets? And that it only took the signatures of 2 men, your mayor, and the CAO of the city corporation. The CAO is the chief administrative officer. He works for the city municipality. He's hired by the municipality. He's unelected, unappointed, and he doesn't work for you. What's happening now is they've created public-private partnerships that are masquerading like our governments. What they do, they've merged our public officials, our elected representatives, with a non-government organization. So they've got the government office over here, they merge it with a non-government organization, and they create this public-private partnership. When they do that, they actually create an international entity under the United Nations. So what your mayors are doing is they're signing international documents when they're going into office, and they have no authority to do so. Everything is being done through corporate contracts, and they have no authority to do so. I've written just a basic guidebook. This thing will hopefully be, less than 7 pages, double-sided, because we need to know what these things are. Everybody's yelling at their public officials, and we have no public officials. Our public office was never invoked, and that's why we have no public input, because we have no public office and we have no public officials in a public-private partnership. So again, how did that happen? When I ran for mayor, I specifically ran to find out what would happen if I was elected, but I refused to sign the Municipal Act oath, which they get your mayor to sign, and your councillors. Immediately when they're elected, the clerk, issues them the Municipal Act Declaration of Office. And I kind of went, why are they delivering a Municipal Act Declaration of Office instead of a public oath, an oath of office, an oath of allegiance? The Municipal Act basically has rewritten our laws to restructure our governments. And what they do is they swear in your mayor and councillors immediately as officers of the city municipality. And as joining in that, they can create the public-private partnership as a head of council. So when you're in those city council chambers, that's actually a United Nations field office. That's international jurisdiction in there, which is why your mayor and your councillors can't hear you. If you look, your CAO or the CAO will be sitting side by each to the mayor. Equal power. When your mayor structurally, lawfully in Canada, we have 3 constitutional layers, de jure layers of federal, provincial, and local. I don't like using the word municipal because it means corporate. It means legal. But your prime minister will be head of the federal level. Your premier will be head of the provincial level, and your mayor will be head of the local level. He's the highest authority if he's properly sworn in. He's the highest authority judicially, fiduciary, legislative, and politically. But they don't let him swear in the office. So what we're going to be doing is presenting basically all elected local officials with a little bit of information to explain to them that they're sitting now, and everybody, this will be downloaded on my website. They're sitting now in 3 legal capacities in that chamber. They're sitting as a public official that was never sworn into office. They're sitting as a city employee that you never gave them authority to do. And they're sitting as a member of the Council of the Whole for the United Nations Public-Private Partnership. And so what we're going to be asking them is they need to pick one. Are you public? Are you private? Or are you international? And they need to meet individually with their wards that elected them, with the town. I would strongly recommend that the mayor and the councillor from each ward meet in a setting like this, in a town hall. I will meet with you, present the information. This will be presented to the fourth councillors for them to digest. It explains how this was implemented from 1992. I go through what is de facto government and what is de jure government. De facto government is defined as it's accepted as fact, but it's unauthorized and illegitimate. It's installed. It's founded in deceit and fraud, and it's without lawful title. So what these public-private partnerships do is they overturn the rightful government and install one of their own. And it looks like government. It spends like government. It doesn't. It even have the logos. It can have the trillium and looks like Ontario provincial. Oh, these are provincial orders we're following. This will describe how they've done it. They basically, by creating these public-private partnerships, are just franchises. They're just run like Burger King's, a corporate layer on top of your lawful system. And I go through how they were set up. Elizabeth Dowdeswell came here specifically from the United Nations. She's our lieutenant governor. Well, she just resigned this year because she's been caught in the fraud. But she came over here. She was United Nations executive director from 1992 to 1998. She specifically came over here to set up the provincial, which are the sub-national level of the United Nations member state. Your local ones are the city-state, which is what they're trying to turn into the 15-minute cities. But only the municipalities, and that's where we're getting locked into it, just through your mayor's signature and your councillor's signature are tying you to the United Nations, and they need to be informed because they probably don't know if they're doing it, a lot of them. The ones that do, like I believe John Tory knew exactly what he was doing, which is why he resigned. He was caught. If they do know what they're doing, and a lot of these have big money. Our mayor in Kincardine, what was his name? I'm drawing Larry Kramer, signed humongous deals with the Ontario Power Generation for natural gas. And woe on the natural gas people, because this agenda is pretty tricky. What they'll do is they'll finance you the infrastructure. You'll spend $1 billion putting in the natural gas pipelines, and then they'll say, "Oops, sorry, natural gas it commits greenhouse gases, and we can't provide you the natural gas." But you're still on the hook for 50 years or 100 years of debt. So I mean, there's good news and there's bad news here, though. I mean, this is great news because this is all being done in contract law, right? It's not constitutional. We don't have to go back to, you know, whatever, 1867. And with contract law, if there's any fraud, it nullifies, it vitiates everything that's done. If your mayor and your councillors did not have any authority behind that signature, anything they signed or agreed to, including these, is null and void. So that's kind of where we're at now is number one, we need to stop the bleeding, and the bleeding is happening at your local level in your city hall. Your mayor has transferred your sovereign governing powers locally and your fiduciary controls and your trust accounts and your geographical jurisdiction, and he's given them over to the United Nations global governing system. Said we will operate as a public-private partnership as opposed to a government office. And we'll get paid a lot of money. This is 30 years of secret mayor meetings that's been happening since 1992. So there's a fair bit of unraveling, but first and foremost, we need to stop the bleeding. We need to stop the money flow. All our money is going to these city municipalities, and they fudged everything. Number one, they control and administrate your local election. Like, read the Municipal Act. The word mayor and councillor isn't even in the Municipal Act, and yet they're sent there to take their oath. Read the Municipal Elections Act. Your clerk, which isn't even your clerk, you don't elect him. He comes from, he's trained as well as the chief administrative officer. They're trained in this global agenda to bring it to you and administrate you. And you're being administrated. You're not being governed. You're not being listened to. But they have two roles here, and they can look really convincing. Satan always can. Always very convincing. They have a lot of money behind them, the World Economic Forum and the World Bank. But they only have really two jobs. Number one, they come here to control the local election. So they administrate all of it. And when I ran for mayor, well, actually for both councillor and mayor, but it was far more obvious last year because they design a municipal portal electronically that you have to, all candidates have to access the portal to get your information. Well, I'm running for public office. They have no business interfering with a public election, but they don't allow it to happen, which is fraud. The second thing they do is they don't disclose to your elected official that there's a possibility of taking two oaths. The oath of office and invoke the office of the mayor, which is an institution. It's your public institution. It has the coat of arms and your seal and your crest and your history and that command, that chain of office or chain of command, which represents the authority that's granted in the mayor, the chief executor of your trust. And when I was in the Kawarthas council room last time, they have this demonstrate the ceremonial replication of authority strung over the mayor's nameplate, giving the authority to the nameplate in that room. And they put the elected councillors lower than city staff. That's a lot of balls. You need to restore your local government because you are your local government. You create it. And they hold public assets, public trust accounts. They hold that in a whole nother level of law. They hold that in trust law, common law. They have the ability to act legally. They hold that authority commercially over the municipal corporation so they can do business for you. They can fix your roads and handle all the money, but they keep you in a trust. You know, they protect that legal person so that you're not being pilfered by these foreign de facto possessions. So basically, we've got de facto possession of our sovereign governing powers, which in the criminal code is section 15 even if they're not recognizing like de jure laws, it specifically says that you have a duty to disobey if there's de facto possession. You're not to. And COVID proved it. There's the one of the pages in here, and I don't know how much time I have, or if you have any questions, or this will be available on my website. My website is just sheila.ca, SHELAW. My pronouns are she and law. But anyway, I just go through in the last page here, the emergency declaration form that all mayors were ordered to sign in March of 2020. So they could, because they have geographical jurisdiction, right? A public mayor does. And they were ordered by the United Nations to sign a local emergency declaration form. And what they do is they got your mayor to sign in all three capacities: public, private, and international. Which basically kind of put a close for me, and this needs to have some light on it. And I'm here to help. So is there any questions, or
Yes, we do. Hold on a second.
Okay, Sunny Singh here. I have a question. It's interesting. Never knew this. Is this the same in the UK, which originated all this laws, the British laws? Is this the same in the US, where you have the mayor and the council members, and is it the same everywhere?
Yes. Well, that's sorry. COVID was actually a test of the global. Everybody's global. This is a global government takeover, right? So they're trying to do the new world order. So the COVID was a test of sustainable development goal number 3, which was health and well-being for all, right? Sounds really nice. They have 17 sustainable goals. And what they did, it was a test to see how well they had implemented their systems on the ground. So it was 2 weeks to flatten the curves, because they thought they could implement this in 2 weeks. And ultimately they couldn't even do it in 3 years. And the truckers convoy just basically exposed them. But anyway, but it was a way to see how well is everything implemented? How well does the mayors obey? How well will the businesses obey? How well will the people? Can we get these shots in the arms, right? And you ended up having your mayor, my mayor, who's Cam Guthrie, was actually posting on social media, Guelph is 80% vaccine injected now, and let's go for 90%. You were getting your mayor to give you medical advice and telling you what pharmaceutical products to take. Totally outside the scope of what a public mayor is supposed to be doing. But these aren't public mayors, they're global mayors. They're big city mayors. They're a qualified mayor. Anytime you have an adjective in front of a word, like you can be a mom, but you can also be a bad mom, right? You can qualify. So a global mayor is not that real mayor. It's a weasel word. It's a way to, looks like a mayor, even the label, but it's not, it's qualified. A real mayor has a true covenant oath to you. He serves publicly, transparently. You can go into him 24/7. Your counselors are there 24/7. They're in their wards. And what I'd like to see is every ward has, or every area has a town hall where they've got an office there, and you can they answer to you. They're controlling your trust. They have your trust, and you can remove your trust, which is what we're going to do because they breached it. Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, the other question was, this is the present time, just recently. What about the history? When they first created, okay, the British, I would say, I'm going way back down. The British came along and says, okay, you know what? We need to create a mayor. We need to have council members, and they need to look after the town and this and that. Was it there then too? Or was it just like, okay, no, we just made it and they don't have enough powers, but they only have powers within that town or that village or the city or whatever? Was it back there then too?
Upon a time, your villages were just your local communities. They pooled their money. If the church needed fixing, they fixed the church. If the roads, and then they grew, right? But they still remained public. And then they had a corporation that was able to keep the money, much like a co-op. So as far as historically, your mayor was your sheriff, your head sheriff. And that's where the word shire reeve. He was the reeve of the shire. So it became the Shire Reeve, the sheriff. He was the highest authority. So the only thing that makes a sheriff is a lawful oath. It doesn't have to be a historical piece of paper. You know what I mean? That's a legal sheriff, and that's a whole nother entity that's under the bar, the British Accredited Registry, under the Crown. If you want to go down that road, good luck. All right. Your representatives don't belong there. Just like you're putting your wallet in somebody's hands, you want to make sure that they stay public. All right. So that's kind of where I'm going for. So we don't want to look back to 1860 or whatever. We want to form them now. And we have that authority. Somebody tell me not. If somebody is saying they have authority over me, then they either need a letter from God saying that they can come between me, or they need a letter from me. I know I didn't write one giving them and allowing them to interfere with my relation, my covenant. And I'm pretty sure he didn't. And if he did, I'd love to see it. So that's kind of, we haven't been able to challenge these people because we have to challenge them using the bar, and they're not going to tell us. I had to find this information out by sleeping with a lawyer. And he told me it's basically signature, conversion of status, and terms. And terms is just another word for words. In the beginning was the word. What's your word? What do you mean by municipality? And put it on paper. Write it down, Mr. CAO. Write it down, Mr. Mayor, because if Mr. Mayor, if you agreed to work for the municipality and you didn't understand what it meant, we can work with you. Come on, meet with us, because we got some fixing to do. If you did understand that you were transferring us into this international entity, well then, you know what? Unincorporate me from this, because I don't really like what they're selling.
Well, they're being exposed now.
Oh yeah, and this is the perfect time, right? But it's also the perfect time. Not only are you asking your representative to step into their power, but you also have to step into yours. Because this all happened because we were lazy as shit, got glued to our cell phones, and yeah. Nobody gave a shit about, sorry, I'm so sorry. Nobody cared about local municipal. What was it? They were saying that nobody showed up to council meetings. That's how the global to local download happened so effectively. Not only could they bypass 2 levels of legislation and implement it on the ground, but nobody cared what was going on in City Hall. So they could do 3 readings in one day.
Well, because we're silent, we agree to it.
Sure, you know what? No problem. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're trusting. We're very trusting. We're very embracive people. But we've been. This is a coup d'etat. This is a spiritual war, and this is the time to choose. What side are you on, God or Mammon? And if your mayor wants to work for Mammon, and you know his OMERS pension, which is the Ontario Municipal Employees, when they're all connected to the World Economic Forum, which is why a lot of them just towed the line, is because they got a house riding on this. They got a lot of money riding on this. So.
It's the truth, or it's the agenda that they have.
Yeah, they're tied into green, invested into green technology, and so yeah, they're not going to. Or some of them, if they're in too deep, or have loved ones threatened. You do this, or else say goodbye to your kid. But at this point now, I believe that they don't have any power anymore. One, because they're being exposed, and there's been the truckers convoy really exposed the fact that there's been a coup d'etat at the federal level and the provincial level, and that's all basically what I think the truckers convoy, the main purpose of it was to show that we could have that the federal government would call the War Measures Act on their own people for bouncy castles. And he convinced the members of parliament to agree with him. And nobody from the provincial level or the local level or any of the public health agencies or any of the science table or any of those came to the table with the truckers to show them the science as to why do I got to quarantine for 10 days every time I cross the border. I'll do it, but I just want to see the science, because it's not making any, nobody showed to back the science. So it was a sting, okay? It's one thing to say the science, but it's another thing to back it, right? As soon as that was called, Trudeau flew to BC and went into quarantine in Code. Does anybody remember that at the truckers convoy? What was that? The first day they arrived, January 29 or something, he flew to the coast. And Aaron O'Toole, the opposition leader, resigned. There, we have no representative federal government, right? I don't know what Singh was doing, but O'Toole was the registered opposition. So those guys flew the coup. And then it just unraveled from there. And then they got desperate, called the War Measures Act. It got UN troops onto the ground, which further confirmed. And then you saw Peter Slowly, the Ottawa police chief, he resigned. A lot of the officers resigned. And then it just kind of all went to whatever. But I summarized that. That's on my website as far as what the trucker convoy proved. And it ultimately led to Klaus Schwab admitting that he has penetrated all levels of Canadian government using these public-private partnerships. Admitted it very boldly. And you'll own nothing and be happy. Really? So we've got illegitimate control because we've never challenged it. And if we've challenged it, we've done it through Rocco Galati, who's a bar member. I'm sorry, but I was around when Rocco Galati was doing the Comer's Bank of Canada challenge, and he totally blew that one. How are you supposed to have a sovereign country if you have no control over your public bank and your ability to control your economy and your currency? Give me a break. So this in 74, Trudeau Senior sold the Bank of Canada. Well, you can't do that. And what's happened actually is all our governments have been sold, like our highways and our hospitals and our schools and all of them have been sold and privatized, right? Well, you can't privatize government. And if you have, fraud. But you've got to call the fraud. It's just like fire. As soon as you yell fire, you got to stop, make sure. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming. I'm here to help anybody. If you go to my website, I've got all the documents from 1992 that came down, 93 that came down, 94, 96 that came to your local levels when everybody was trusting and telling them, hey guys, we're going to get all on board with this Agenda 21 and we're going to sustainably develop and save the planet. So you got your local Agenda 21 instead of just a local agenda. And your local agenda are your roads and health and whatever you need locally. But all your money's being diverted to this Agenda 21. So which is Agenda 2030 and 2050 and all that kind of crap and whatever. So all the documents are there to read, but what I did is I just basically summarized all of this from 1992 to 2020 with the COVID, which exposed what they did, and the summary of what I revealed when I ran for mayor and what the city solicitor told me and what the clerk told me is that I could only take the municipal oath if I was elected. And I kind of went, whoa, that's where they're taking them. You should have offered me both a public oath and the municipal oath. So he had a legal duty to disclose that to an elected official, and he didn't, and it caused extreme harm and loss, which is defrauding the public in more ways than one, no matter how you define the word public. Sorry, Wenda? No, that's the good news, bad news. The bad news is that these two guys are capable of doing whatever they want in this geographical area, your mayor and the CAO. But that's also good news because if they don't sign anything, nothing can happen. The CAO will sign everything, right? Where's his shit or where his stuff? He'll sign everything. And you'll see on all the bylaws, all the zoning stuff is that CAO is the bottom signature. He's just, he's the signing authority. He's got fiduciary control. Once you make your mayor aware that, hey, dude, your signature's doing this, and anything you sign from here on in, if you haven't invoked the public, there's ways. I don't want to explain to make it whatever, but basically it's that signature that he's done. So the city CAO has your mayor's pen, right? And writing and the credit card. So it can be, that's also good news because if you remove your public officials from that privatization, put them under a true oath, you have control of the signature again.
Well, what if they say no? What if they don't? What if they choose Mammoth?
This is where we're going, I'm working with somebody and I'm not quite at that level. Right now, I want to, this is new, right? This is totally new. So this is what I'm doing tomorrow, is presenting this and just hey, we need to know what we're dealing, what creature's here, right? And if you're not public, then for sure we know there's not a public-private partnership. So for sure we know nothing can move forward. So that's the first step that I want. None of these zoning bylaws to be going, because there's major transportation one coming too, right? So if your mayor, there's question whether your mayor has any signing authority, nothing can move forward. From then, I believe we've got to find an honest lawyer who can unincorporate everything that has been illegally incorporated into that municipality, that franchise. And they incorporated your elected officials. They incorporated the office of the mayor. They incorporated the inhabitants, and they call you an inhabitant.
Well, it'll be hard to find a lawyer like that. Maybe somebody that's retired lawyer.
I don't see why. You're correcting a mistake. If I took your car, yeah, no, I don't think it's that, I don't think it's that complicated. I think once the dust settles, and you meet, because you also, if your mayor and councillors step into their power, they can fix a lot of things too, right? Everything now has been restored to public, and we can get accountants and stuff, because we're going to need forensic audits and everything that's been happening, right? So I don't know what happens down the road. We create that. Okay. We just need to stop. We know there's de facto possession. And actually there's been de facto possession all along, like you said, because we've been controlled in that legal realm, that legal fiction, that bar world, the legal law land, right? So this will be brand new turf, because we are in brand new. We're stepping into our power and being responsible. Like right now we're still children of the province instead of children of God. When we were born, and I'm sure a lot of you know about the whole birth certificate fraud and how they convert your status just by uppercasing and capitis diminutia maxima. Well, what they're doing is they're creating just a child of the province, and they'll take care of your money until you turn 18. And what's supposed to happen when you turn 18 is you have a choice whether to leave your birth certificate, bond, or trust, or whatever that investment is, in the public trust and remain a child of the province, or you want to step into your maturity and own your trust and create and put it in your own private trust, right? Well, by the time you're 18 years old, if it's properly and publicly invested, it's worth a fair bit of money. And that money is at 18, 19, is to pay for any university education, your first home, your car, that it's used as insurance on your car. So if you have an accident, you access your trust account as the insurance, so that you take responsibility for your accidents. You don't contract it out to a third party. That's adultery. You're involving a third party into your business. It won't work. I drove for 2 years without insurance or without stickers. We got pretty nervous up there because it was OPP, and we were doing some fighting with we were doing some exposing with West Aerial Power and the Bruce nuclear power plant that was trying to bury nuclear waste. But I was driving with 2 years without insurance. I was a lot more careful driver when I was, holy man, I didn't speed. I didn't nothing, man. Like I was responsible because I knew it was going to come out of my pocket. And I drive around. I got a 27-year-old Toyota Camry with the front nose busted because I schmucked somebody in a roundabout. And I just said, hey, buddy, you know what? My fault. What do you want? Luckily, I ran into a Beamer, but luckily his was an old car too. And he was a mess. And he said, you know what? If you can give me $1,500, we'll call it a day. I can get a buddy to, fine. Spit in the handshake, but done. Here's the, here we go, done. We didn't have to go to the collision center, didn't have to call the insurance company, didn't have to get and then my insurance. No, it's just what I was at fault, but that shouldn't have come out of my pocket. I should have been able to say, I got no fault insurance. There you go, buddy. Right. So, and I've had one accident in 45 years of driving, and if I never access that pool, you know, if I was told to put $60 in my own savings account instead of giving it to an insurance company, and that grew, you know, that we don't get to control our money. So we remain that child of the province in that infantile, which needs, the imbecile needs taken care of by a lawyer, and they will represent you because you're not mature enough to take care of your own affairs. Well, we are, or we better be. Yeah, so I like I said, I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I know damn well it's gonna look a hell of a lot better than what we got now. And you'd be surprised, Wenda, deep down, people are really good people. They don't want this. And when they realize that there isn't lack, there isn't anything to fear. They pull together. I mean, I had a fire in Kinloss where we lost everything overnight. 6,000 square foot building, had my gym, had our living space up top. We lost everything but our vehicles, the clothes on our back, our identification, and my 3 dogs. And that was quite the experience, but I don't even know where I was going with that. But it's, yeah, now I do. It was up in Kinloss, very similar to this area, and everybody just pulled together. They had a benefit dance for us. They found us a little farmhouse to stay in. I mean, the OPP officers donated furniture. That's what people are naturally. Right now, we're in fear and division and power struggles. So you'll be surprised when we do get back to normal, natural law, how the birds, you know, they can get along with squirrels. You don't see a squirrel charging another squirrel to rent their freaking tree out, you know, like natural law is very, very normal. And the other thing too is we will have lawful courts. There's people groups that are getting together and setting up the grand juries. And if you have a lawful court that's able to address harm, right? We only have three laws: is do no harm, cause no loss, and bear no false witness. And if you do, we take you into court. Well, first you can, you know, take responsibility. And if you don't want to take responsibility, then we set up the lawful court. We don't have lawful courts now. We have banking tribunal, right? So I believe that once you return to natural law, maybe I'm a pipe dream, but no, I don't think so. So, but yeah, good question. Good question. Is there anybody else? So yeah, sorry to talk so long, but stay tuned, and this will be available for everybody because, like you said, it was done in every local area and they were absorbed into that global government system, and they proved it during COVID, but they also proved how they were doing it, which is an easy split because it only involves 2 men. Right? It doesn't involve all the NGOs, all the deputies, all the officers, it doesn't even involve the United Nations, really. It just involves those 2 men. You have control over the one, the mayor, not right now, because he's a global mayor, but once you do, if he refuses to sign anything, the CAO is neutered. The buck stops there. Woo! And I don't know how you end this until you end the money, because you know. Yeah. And your strong mayor powers, if you look at those, it's just giving the CAO more authority.
Have you heard of Kevin Annett's? Have you heard of Kevin Annett's? It is Church and State. I don't know what ITSCC.
International Court of Criminal, or Kevin Annett has been sort of down in BC. I kind of ran into him in mid to early 2000s or so, and he was working with the residential kids and setting up. I don't know much about him, but he was doing the Republic of Kanata, the same idea in that we're under this crown authority, this call, you know, and we need to get out from underneath it. So he's saying, I think it's the same kind of idea, but yeah, he was working on the same ideas that you've got these authority figures that are assuming over you or over family. In his case, he was going trying to expose the residential native burial stuff, and how could this happen, kind of thing. But then I haven't kind of caught wind of him in the recent, but again, I've been working on this stuff. So, but good on him. Anybody that's been throwing stones at Goliath, right on, you know.
Well, he did have a trial and he put up they charged about 30 people in Canada, right from Harper to the head of the RCMP, the Queen,
Yeah.
the Pope, and they all were found guilty because they didn't show up for court.
Yeah.
And then they tried to make arrests, but these people are untouchable. They're too hard to arrest.
Oh.
You need almost a big police force or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I believe we can. I really believe we can, because the only thing that's happening is that you have lost your representatives that will act in your behalf, right? Everything public has gone private. Yeah. And this is what Paul Chauvin and Jeff Fortran is setting up, is the ability to process these people, whether, I
Through
don't know,
grand
somebody-
jury?
sorry?
Would that be through grand jury or how would that?
So they're setting up, I think New Zealand is actually being very effective with them, kind of like the Nuremberg 2 sort of thing that's happening in Europe. And the ability to set up and Iceland actually did it. They kicked out all the bankers and all their government and set up their own lawful system. So yes, it can work. Mexico actually
Yeah.
did it too.
Wow.
If you talk to Ron Stevens, they kicked out all of these guys, set up their own, law enforcement and their own controls again. So it definitely can work. Yeah, so.
Just a lot of work because it's we've gone down this slippery slope, down for like decades and decades. And now we're fighting a little bit of an uphill battle, but we can see the goal. We
Yeah.
have, the solution is there.
Yeah, and it is the solution, and the solution is don't focus on the problem. They've got you talking about this stuff, right? Pages and pages and pages of this stuff, and talking about, oh, well, my lot can do this, and I'm permitted to do this. Well, first question is, does this apply to me? If so,
I'm
how?
a free woman born under God.
Yeah, so if you haven't told them who you are, they're just gonna plow, right? So this is just like I say, it's just saying, if you want a kind of a short version, and anybody that knows a lawyer family member, I'd love to talk to them. And I actually, when I ran for mayor, I said publicly, and I said in all my articles, is I dare any lawyer to come and talk and challenge any of my information, that this is what's happening and this is how we fix it, right? So, yeah. Yeah, Angel.
Thank you, Sheila. I wish I heard the beginning of it.
Stay tuned. We're getting.
Thanks a lot, Sheila. So let's give a hand to our good friend Sheila to getting that word out there, all right? And now for Angel.
Hi, guys. So good to see everybody. Thanks for showing up. We got a little group, but a mighty group tonight. I was over in Peterborough at the City Hall there. Maggie gave a talk. I just missed it. I got there at 6:40 and she spoke right the first speaker at 6:30. So yeah, but it is recorded. So you can go on the Gather 2030 and it will be there. It's also, I believe, recorded by Peterborough City Hall themselves. So they probably have that out on YouTube. I know City of Kawartha Lakes has theirs on YouTube. So she spoke about how everything is climate change. Like they're saying now they want, and I stayed for a little bit of the meeting to hear this. They want every report to address how it affects climate change. Every single report now is going to have to address how does this affect climate change. It's insanity. We went outside the chambers after a little while of it and spoke among ourselves. There was about maybe 20 people there. Actually, it was a good little show up, at least 15 anyways. I didn't count. We did get a couple pictures. Maggie's always taking all the pictures. It's great. But we come to the consensus that they have to undeclare the climate crisis. It has to be undeclared because now that they've declared this climate crisis, everything going forward has to address it because it's being declared. Like this, the state of emergency was declared. So you have to address that declaration. So we need it undeclared. We need it undeclared in Peterborough. We need it undeclared in, I want to call it Victoria County because I'm just from this point on refusing to address City of Kawartha Lakes because I don't live in City of Kawartha Lakes. I live in Victoria County. So Victoria County called me. She wants her name back. Just going through the petition and speaking to people one-on-one, I just have got this common theme playing again and again with everybody I talk. They're not getting the services that they should have with the taxes that they pay. There's a disconnect with the people they believe are supposed to represent them. They believe they elected people to represent them, but there's a disconnect. And it's because these people's hands are tied to the corporation. They cannot serve them. Sheila was saying I don't know if it was this morning, she was standing in my kitchen chopping vegetables and she's like, it's like this. You come into Walmart. What do you want? Oh, you want your road service? Oh, wait. Today we have a special on rainbow sidewalks. Would you like that? Oh, no, you don't. Oh, what? Oh, you want some climate change? Okay, we've got climate change all this week. We've got a special on climate change. No, we don't want that. We want what we need and what we paid for and what we asked for and what we elected people to do. And that's proper representation. So hopefully tomorrow, when the petition is presented, we'll get some reaction from the councils. You're shaking your head. You're like, there's no hope. She's thinking there's no hope. They're not going to react. They may not question me at the time in council because that's been by and large, we've experienced that. We get up there, we speak, and then is there any questions? And they want to get rid of you, right? They want, no, go. But Sheila's got a great little package. I don't know if she mentioned that we're going to be handing it to each one individually. They're going to have their name on it as a public official. So it is not the property of, or not for the eyes of the staff. It is for our public representatives, our public officials. This is information that they need to know because they've put themselves in a precarious position and they may not know that. Certainly I didn't know when I ran for council in October. I didn't know what Lion's Den I would have been entering into there. I had no clue, but I know now and I can help them understand too, I hope. So we all can. Thanks, guys. And thank you people on Zoom. I don't know who's all on Zoom, but thanks if you tuned in.
All right, thanks a lot for coming up and giving us a rundown. But you're talking about climate change, right? I'm just gonna bring this is what we need to know. I'm gonna bring this back up here. The Municipal Act, the broad authority, single tier municipality. Single tier, that's what we are all under, or what the municipality is, right? So it's telling you what they have the authority over. A single tier municipality may provide any service or thing that the municipality considers necessary or desirable for the public. Okay, so we got to take a look at all the definitions, of course. A single tier municipality may pass bylaws respecting the following matters. Okay, so let's take a look what they have authority over. Structures of the municipality and its local boards. Okay, so that's what you go and take a look at. They have that. Okay, accountability of transparency of the municipality and its operations and its local boards and their operations. So they put it on YouTube so you can take a look at it, but they do a lot of close back. They're not supposed to be doing that right there. There you go. That's dirty pool. Okay. Shame on them. Financial management of the municipality and its local boards. So it's a business. Public assets of the municipality acquired for the purpose of exercising its authority under this or any other act. So you got to take a look at what else they're dealing with here. Economic, economic, social, environmental well-being in the municipality, including, remember that word? Including. Okay, so forget what is said over here. That's just a delusion. Respecting climate change. That's all they're dealing with constantly. So when you're talking about climate change, right there, that's what's telling you. So you got to remember What including means enclosed, in structured, only in that spot. Okay, health, safety, well-being of persons. Persons, well, you gotta take a look at the definition of persons again. You know, you're dealing with the municipality. They can act as a person, but they can't contract with us because we're a private individual. Services and things that municipalities are authorized to provide under this section. Protection of persons and property, including consumer protection. Well, property, that's even another definition you gotta take a look at. What is the definition of property? It's actually not talking about your land. It's not talking about your land. They don't have any jurisdiction walking even on your land, even though they say they do, but we tested that out ourselves. Animals. Well, it's funny. You know, okay, so, well, because you can't control the animal. Animal is going to bite somebody, so we can understand that. I mean, comprehend. Structures including, oh, there we go again. So they're saying structures. So you automatically think they can talk about your fences, I mean, your sheds and garages and all that. No, they don't. It says including fences and signs. That means that's all they have jurisdiction over. Really got to start looking at this. Business license, anyways. I just wanted to pull that up because you're talking about climate change, and that's why they're always talking about climate change, because that's all they can do. So, well, that kind of wraps everything up. I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for Sunny for getting out there and getting the word out. Sheila, thanks Sheila for getting more understanding of what is really going on. And Angel, awesome. And Angel giving us a summary of what's happening. And we did have a video up here. Sheila, did you want to show that, that video that we had up here dealing with ICLEI, huh? The council meeting. Well, what, one tonight? The council meeting tonight? I think so. Yeah, give me a second. Maybe we'll close up with that video so you can see what kind of powers we actually, what's going on. And I'm just gonna stop this. And here we go.
Municipalities under the auspices of the United Nations began in 1992. PM Mulrooney signed Canada onto UN Agenda 21. Canada thus became a UN member nation state. 178 countries signed on, lured by the promise of big money to go green. By 2000, countries, including Canada, were being governed by directions of the UN, G7, G20, World Economic Forum, and World Health Organization, to name some. Every organization named is a foreign-based NGO, non-governmental organization, and every member of all these organizations is unelected. Parliamentary procedures for law changes weren't followed. In 1994, a municipal primer was issued to all local towns outlining how they were to restructure their governments. Though the municipal primer was a non-binding agreement, all towns adopted it. Our public officials, the mayor and councillors of that day, were partnered with a private corporation, the Corporation of the Town of Aurora, who appointed a chief administrative officer who helped implement the global agenda instead of a local one. The International Council on Local and Environmental Issues, ICLEI, became the main source of consultation to push and fund the global agenda. We remind you that the World Economic Forum and the United Nations signed a strategic partnership framework in 2019 to jointly accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This is the same World Economic Forum whose chairman, Klaus Schwab, famously declared, "You will own nothing and be happy." This is the same Klaus Schwab who, referring to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, boasted, "We have penetrated more than half of his cabinet." We would ask Mayor Maracas and the councillors, why should the citizens of Aurora bow down to the intrusive dictates of an unelected foreign entity? The fact is we should not, and we will not. What, you ask, does any of this have to do with 15-minute smart cities? Absolutely everything. SMART, S for surveillance, M for monitoring, A for analysis, R for reporting, and T for technology. Technology News editor Patrick Wood, 50 years of experience and expertise on technocracy, wrote, "The 15-minute city is a cover for data collection bonanza for technocrats who design and operate them. Cities designed for maximum efficiency always reveal technocrat thinking that efficiency itself is the goal. Maximum surveillance allows for maximum control to achieve even more efficiency." At its very root, this mechanistic thinking is anti-human. The 15-minute city narrative seeks to fool you in the guise of saving the planet, keeping you safe, and delivering convenience. It's actually the gateway to digital IDs and CBDC, central bank digital currencies. CBDCs allow bankers and or governments to freeze your bank account because you happen to peacefully and lawfully protest and express your disagreement with government policy. Anyone remember the truckers' convoy in Ottawa, February 22? when the government of Canada invoked the Emergencies Act and froze the private bank accounts of law-abiding citizens. 15-minute cities are wolves in sheep's clothing. Don't believe the countless stories spewing forth from the 24/7 basis from the elitist captured mainstream media, all claiming to have your best interest at heart. We have been burned too many times. In reality, 24/7 surveillance through the Internet of Things inside your home, 5G and LED streetlights outside, monitoring and tracking and recording everything. Implementation of exclusion zones and geofencing to restrict movement and travel. Ability to control behaviors through military-directed energy technologies. Property and car ownership to be outlawed. Evictions from farms and rural areas to gather people into cities. Digital passports being promulgated by the UN, World Economic Forum, and the World Health Organization are in the final stages of planning and implementation. They are tied to social credit score, which is determined by compliance to government directives. These passports control all access and all aspects of life. Digital currency is being implemented to end cash and monitor all your spending. Your digital currency will be turned off or on depending on your compliance score. UBI Universal Basic Income is a state-controlled allowance forcing compliance by restricting access to food, money, services, and education. All of the above will enable climate lockdowns to be implemented easily, arbitrarily, and indefinitely. The real agenda of 15-minute smart cities is to monitor and control everyone and everything. In summary, in the coming days, Council will receive an electronic info packet which will contain the text of this delegation and other items. We, the citizens of Aurora, wish to enter into a meaningful, respectful dialogue with our elected members of Council on this complex, important issue. A key framework of that dialogue is a list of questions posed to Council. Can Council explicitly guarantee that citizens will remain free to travel as is their right under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms? Can Council guarantee not to restrict access to essential services, medical care, bank accounts, government pensions, utilities? Most importantly, we, the citizens of Aurora, need to have the conversation with Council about exiting their non-binding agreement with the private for-profit entity known as the Corporation of the Town of Aurora. We need to turn back the page to a simpler time when open, transparent municipal government serving its citizens and working in their best interests ruled the day. We are your equal partners on this journey. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm not prepared to say anything other than it was intriguing. I really want to learn more, and I'm open to understanding the impact and try to do what's best for Aurora. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll see.
Thank you so much for coming and delegating today with passion. And obviously you have you've filled the chambers quite a bit in support of this. And I agree that, people want to feel they can roam free with their democracy and their rights and not feel that they're being tracked and surveillance at all times. And definitely I do want to learn more. And yes, you can ask questions and we can sit down and meet. I'm more than happy to have this conversation with you. In fact, I did actually have some conversations, funnily enough, with staff just last week about data privacy and the fact that smart technology is coming in different forms and what that looks like. And I really do hope that I can formulate some motion that will help protect our data privacy in here, because I don't want us to have a system in place where our privacy has already been at risk, or our privacy has already been compromised to that point of, to your point of surveillancing. And I don't think the town of Aurora at all supports wanting to have that. But it's knowing and understanding that those privacy policies are in place. So we are safe and we do have that freedom to live and prosper in our own community without feeling like we were being judged or a social credit score. So happy to reach out and have the conversation.
I also would like to find out more about this. I know very little, and I appreciate all the information that's been brought forward and the
the sentiments of the two councillors who have spoken. And Mr. Sutton, good to see you again.
Well, that's great. We gotta keep them all accountable, right? So, all right, hey, so it's your turn. 1 o'clock, right? Lindsay.
Forget a smart pop. Yeah. They shared the time. They shared the time. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. Ron and Betty, then they're the sweetest couple. Ron went and he spoke to the actual zoning stuff and, you know, the area stuff, and we're kind of concerned. And then Betty went in and spoke to the language, you know, knowing the legal language and looking at the bylaw and saying, well, apparently, you know, I can't put a shed from this boundary or this boundary. So according to this, I can either put my shed on top of my roof or in my basement, because she read the language. So she pointed out the ludicrousy and in the language, that even so much that the councillors and the mayor had to have a training session sponsored by the city the previous week to explain the bylaw zoning thing to them. So if they're not understanding what they're signing, then there you go. There's no contract if there's no meeting of minds. And yeah, so if your councillors and mayors aren't understanding the language, and understanding means you're standing under this agreement. If they've agreed to something that they don't, then it's, how are you supposed to understand it, or how are they supposed to explain it to you? Which is why they hold these training sessions, which are actually indoctrination sessions that here that just tell them they need these sustainable development goals because we're signed on, right? So yeah, it's a subterfuge masquerade kind of smoke and mirrors bait and switch thing that's happening. But once you see Waldo, oh, sorry, Angel. Once you see Waldo, you can't unsee him. And we got Waldo in City Hall, and we just got to ask him to leave, or, you know, we'll make him. You don't belong there.
Where's that Yarmouth video?
Oh.
I know, I watched it, so, okay. Well, I got it on, no one's hearing you.
The mic.
Yeah, so what's happening is your councillors and your mayor aren't able to form council, a local council. They immediately have to join the city council. There's a difference between local government, which is your mayor and councils, and city or municipal government, which is the council that they create in city environment. And then there's also the council of the whole, which is that United Nations. So there's three things happening. So everybody's kind of yelling at different things, and until we all get on the same page, you can't get to a solution, which is the purpose of weasel words, right? So anyway, it's 9 o'clock, so.
Okay, I guess we're done. I was just trying to find that other video, but hey, we'll shut her down, and thanks again for everyone. All right. Oh, Actually, here, one more thing. These lights need to be kept on, heat, air conditioning. So we do have a box in the back, so you can put a little offering. That would be really helpful. And thanks for Pastor Ralph for opening up your church and having us all here. Sure, absolutely. You got something going on this Friday, don't you? Yeah.
Sorry, I've been busy. I had some things I had to deal with, and I haven't had my supper yet. But anyway, it's not unusual. But anyway, I'm going to show an interesting video on Wednesday night about 7 o'clock. Okay, and I have a few people that come anyway. So if you guys would like to come, any is, and 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. It's about an hour video. Okay? And you might be very interested in it. Okay, good. This weekend, yeah, I will remind you about the conference. You'll see it on the big sign up front. And we got Steve, I forget his last name. He's going to be speaking in one of the seminars in the afternoon or the morning or the afternoon. I don't know which one it is yet. And also Maggie said she'd come and do one too. A little 30-minute seminar with an opportunity for questions. And we have other seminars that are going to go all day long. We have a continental breakfast Friday or Saturday morning. We have a regular service Sunday or Friday night with music and a special speaker. I don't know what his topic is, but Saturday morning, continental breakfast at 8 to 9. And then we're going to have seminars till right through the day, broke up by lunch and coffee break. And then there's a question and answer period with a panel at 4 o'clock. And then another speaker
Good
on.
afternoon, everyone.
Saturday
This is
night.
the committee, of the whole meeting for September the 14th, 2023. I see all.
I'll be completing a list of
Monday at 7, I will be coming to this church and I will be bringing solid information, solid video evidence that this vaccine has a parasite and that it can be cured. It's real, it's undeniable, and every live blood analyst across this country has seen this live under the microscope. I do not know if this will ever air when I do this on Monday because we've been shut down for 3 years straight, but I will give it another shot. So I'll see you Monday at 7.
Hey, thanks a lot. We're looking forward to having our friend Jansen next Monday. All right.
a vulnerable persons list for our area.